Hello, my name is Joey Kramer, and I am so excited to share with you my story and my journey for this Tag Talk application. I've made some notes here, so I'll kind of go back and forth through those to help tell the story, tell my journey. Um, my purpose in life is to help in any way possible, to help. I was actually given that vision in a dream last night. It simplified my uh, previous purpose, and now it just told me, I was told, I am here to help. So with this, that's what I hope to do. Um, my mission on earth, I believe, is to inspire people with my journey, with my story, with the obstacles I've overcome in my life, in order to show the world that we are far more powerful than we were ever told or made to believe. We have the ability to create the reality we desire and choose, and the only thing holding us back is our own doubt, our own limitations, and our own fears. And through my story, I hope that it can inspire people around the world and give them hope, give them the start that they need to begin their own journey, to discover who they are and what they truly are, so that we can all remember what we are and who we are. So, just my background. I'm 42 years old, and I've I've been through quite a bit of shit in my life. From early age, I suffered from sexual abuse. I've lived with Tourette's syndrome for the majority of my life. So if you see me twitching and doing this sort of stuff, that's what that is. I try my best to control it, and sometimes it gets the better of me. I've spent the majority of my life since I was 14 heavily involved in alcohol, been to AA, rehab, things like that. I've been involved with drugs. I've been divorced. I've attempted suicide multiple times, to the point of being saved at the age of 20 by one of my best friends, who got me to the hospital in time. I was only minutes away from death at that point. So, needless to say, I've had a few setbacks in my life, and I've had a few things that have not gone my way. And that's the story I've lived and the story I've told myself all of my life. And that's how I've lived. Sorry about the lawnmower next door. It just came on, and hopefully it goes away here in a second. So I hope you can still hear me. Anyways, I'll start. My story begins. Hey, there we go. Look at that. Ask and you shall receive. So, my story is amazing. My story is one that nobody would actually believe, unless I wouldn't believe it unless it actually happened to me. And I literally, last December 2020, rewrote my entire DNA. And when I say I rewrote my DNA, I literally rewrote my DNA and my children's DNA. And I'll explain how that happened. So, really, my story began in the fall of 2019. I was searching for something. I knew there was something more that I was meant to do, and I didn't quite know what it was. I had started practicing meditations. I had started reading obsessively. I think in 2019 I read about 50, 60 books, which at that point I thought was a lot, until 2020, which I read 196 books last year. And I'm already over 70 books this year for 2021. So altogether over 300 books, or close to 300 books, in about a year and a half. I'm obsessed about learning. That's the key to everything. growing and evolving. So, as I said, fall of 2019, I am looking for something more. And I quit the job I had been comfortable in, making the most money I'd ever made in my life, selling roofing to homeowners. And I switched to a new career, a new profession in solar sales. And it was new to our area here in Kansas City. And I was really going to have to put in the effort to make some money, but the money was there, and it was going to be amazing, once I got things going. So I made the switch in October, and fast forward, I'm going through everything. I'm learning the ropes, and we move into February. It's been a cold winter in Kansas City here, and basically my wife and I are broke at this point in time. She runs her own company, and it was not performing well. It was struggling, just because of the time of year. It's always slow that time of year, and roofing and solar, any kind of home improvements, it's slow in the wintertime anyways, cyclical. So we were down to literally our last $200 to our name in mid-February, with rent coming due in 2 weeks, child support, and about $3,000 worth of bills due in literally 2 weeks, and we had $200 to our name. My wife went out to New York for her birthday with her mom, and I stayed here behind at home. And it was a beautiful day, so that morning I decided to go out and jog for the first time of the year with my dog. And I go running, and I twist my knee and end up blowing my knee out on that jog. Granted, I'm a door-to-door salesman, and I just blew out my knee. Not good. So I ice it, I go to bed that night, and wake up the next day, and my whole knee is so swollen I can't put weight on it. I have to hop from bed to the couch in tears. And at that point, I'm terrified. I am scared. I don't know what is getting ready to happen, and I began to meditate. And I asked God, I said, what is this plan? Why did you do this? I can't understand it. It's like, just keep piling shit on shit, and I can't figure it out. So during that meditation was the first time God spoke to me, and I had my first vision, and I documented it. I recorded afterwards. I've got that. I can play at a later date. Exactly what happened in that vision, and what I was shown, and what I was told. And it'll all make sense here as I move forward in this story. But I was left with a complete and total sense of peace and understanding of how and why everything was working out the way it was working out, and why I blew my knee out. And it went from there. I talked to my wife that night on the phone, and she was freaking out because we only had a couple $100 to our name. And all I could tell her over and over, I said, honey, it's going to be okay, I promise. She didn't understand. I tried to tell her about the vision I saw, and at this point she thinks I'm crazy, but I just said, trust me. Please trust me. I got this. I know how it ends, and all is well. So, fast forward to the end of February, and unexpectedly, I get a windfall of money from my previous employer on some jobs that had been back paid. We had the money we needed to pay rent to get us through till about the middle of March. So we survived for another month at that point in time. Then all of a sudden, boom, COVID hits. Everything locks down. Not only did I blow my knee out and I can't go door to door, well, now I can't go door to door because everybody's in lockdown. Worst thing of all, my wife, whose business was a performing arts and entertainment business that was done. She did events, right? Well, that canceled all of her events, and she'd been booking events like crazy. She had the whole spring set up, ready to just have the most amazing spring we'd ever had with the company. And all of a sudden, we had to start refunding everything, all these tickets. Our money was just poof, gone again. And she's freaking out. And I tell her, it's all good. Everything's going to work out. Trust me. So what she does, she has this wild idea. She puts these painting kits that she created up online on Etsy. And this is part of my vision. My vision was her painting kits would become a huge success and they would sell worldwide. And I envisioned her on stages. I envisioned her as this amazing, successful CEO, inspiring the world. And I saw everything play itself out in that vision. And now it was beginning to happen. She put these painting kits up on Etsy, and we started selling. Not a ton, but we were selling them. And it wasn't until the next month, we were making enough money to survive at least. The next month came around, and BuzzFeed featured our painting kits as one of the best Mother's Day gifts for 2020. We went viral. Our business exploded overnight, and I think we sold something like $60,000 worth of these painting kits that my wife and I did all by ourselves. It was COVID. We couldn't hire anybody. We packaged and shipped out and hand drew and hand packaged nearly 1,000 kits that we sent out on time for Mother's Day. And we've reached our goal, and huge success, right? So therefore we bring, and all the while I've seen this already happen. I've seen this come to fruition in my vision, and I knew kind of what was coming next. I just didn't know exactly how. Well, we bring on one of our friends, a successful businessman, entrepreneur. He actually works as one of Tony Robbins' like top guys, and we bring him on board, and he sees what we're doing, so he buys in, comes on as a 25% partner in our business, and he helps us begin to grow and build this business into a worldwide, just successful online business, right? So we're going through last summer 2020, and we're just working, and I'm doing my daily meditations, practicing, manifesting reality. I'm starting to understand and realize my true power that I have, that we all have. And what starts happening is I'm beginning to literally create and manifest the things I meditated on, from conversations to money to literally what would happen that day in our lives, or for me or my wife or one of our employees. It would literally come to fruition, like the conversation I just had in a morning meditation would play out right in front of my eyes, literally an hour later in our team meeting, and word for word, and I wouldn't even have to say anything. It literally, I was creating the reality nearly instantaneously. So, moving forward, we end up signing up for Tony Robbins, UPW, and that was our first time ever doing anything like that. And it was truly life-changing for us. We went ahead and we signed up for all the rest of his events, everything for the remainder of the year and into 2021. So, at that point, we do business mastery. Amazing. I'm beginning to have more and more visions, more and more meditations where I'm learning, I'm being shown little pieces of the puzzle. At that point, I had another vision, and it told me, it showed me where I would be and what my purpose was. And it would be to be on stages, inspiring the world and teaching people how we create our reality. And I saw it so clearly, so vividly, to the point where I will be at some day in the near future partners with Tony Robbins. Just so happens I invented and created our business partner, who just so happens to be personally mentored by Tony Robbins and one of his top level uh, coaches, you know. So at that point, I see again the future of what's coming and what I can expect, which just gets me even more fired up and excited for the future. Now we'll fast forward all the way to December of 2020, last year, and that was Date with Destiny. I went into Date with Destiny with one goal in mind, and that was to remove the last barrier, I thought, to unleashing my power. And that barrier was letting go of all of the anger, all of the pain that I've lived my life with, the frustration, the anger, easily tempered. I knew it was stemming from something, but I didn't know what or where. So I went into Date with Destiny with that goal in mind. After the first day, I realized what I had to do. I had to forgive my father, my birth father, biological father. I had to forgive him for abandoning me and my mom 2 weeks after I was born. There's been so much pain and heartache and anger about that. Growing up without him until my stepdad came into the picture when I think I was 7 or 8, I had so much anger. I didn't realize I had it, but I did. Um, so the next morning after day one, I woke up early, about 5 a.m., and I started to write a letter to him. I didn't know if I'd ever send it, but it was for me more than anything. So I wrote this letter to him. I started to write this letter to him. I got one sentence out, and I lost it. Just completely lost it. Broke down. I mean, I am in tears. I cried for an hour straight, uncontrollably. And I let all that pain go. I let it out and realized that it wasn't my fault, you know? So, as we move on throughout the week, I'm growing stronger and stronger, and I'm realizing more and more about myself. On the second to last day, we have a meditation at the end where we go back to our earliest childhood memory. And that's usually, the one that's caused us the most pain. And I go back to that point in time where I was a 5-year-old boy, and my mom had driven us down to Texas to go see my biological father, to go visit him, and obviously to try and win him back. My mom wanted to bring him back so I could have a dad. And the exercise involved going into my own body and seeing myself through my 5-year-old eyes and what I expected prior to getting there. How excited I was, how much anticipation I had about I was gonna meet my dad, Then I started kind of freaking out, because it's like, that's a lot of pressure to put on a 5-year-old kid who's lived his whole life without his dad. And now it's like, oh my God, I get to meet my dad. What if he doesn't like me? What if I do something wrong? Obviously, he left because of me. So therefore, shit, I had a lot of pressure on me, a lot of thoughts going through my mind. And then he said, put yourself in the mind of the other person. So I put myself into my mom's mind, her eyes, and how scared she must have been. She came from a place of love, and all she wanted to do was give me a father. But she was scared. She couldn't trust this man. She didn't even know if she wanted to be with this man, but something pulled her down there. Then I had to put myself in his eyes, and how scared he must have been. He ran away to Texas. From Kansas City, he ran to Texas to get away from me. At least that's what I thought. Or to get away from my mom. But he ran away because that wasn't the life he wanted. And now he's being confronted with a child that he doesn't know and a woman who, for all he knows, is trying to suck him back in. And all I realized between all three of us is how much fear we had, how much we wanted different things, and how scared we were about the results of all of those things. It gave me such peace to understand that and to know that none of it was my fault. Nothing I did caused him to leave and abandon me. So, Date with Destiny ends. I am on top of the world like I have never experienced in my life. Just pure euphoria about life and everything in it. All of the pictures, all of my past is lining up now. Everything I had ever thought, everything that's ever happened to me, I'm now beginning to see why they happened to me. And I'm no longer was telling myself a story that I was making up in my mind. I was seeing the reason everything happened for that exact purpose at that point in my life. So here's where it gets really good. I call my dad the next day and talk to him, and we have the best conversation him and I have ever had in my life. Sorry, not my biological dad. Call my stepfather, who's raised me as his son. We have the best conversation we've ever had. And I'm crying, he's crying, I'm forgiving him for everything he did, because everything he did was the exact right thing that had to be done. I was too fragile back then. You know, they could have been harder on me, but they didn't, because I couldn't have handled it. Hell, I've tried to kill myself multiple times. I was not prepared to handle what he would have, if he would have been any different than he was. So I was so grateful for that, and I told him how much I loved him, and that he did everything right and made me the man I am today. Then comes my mom. That was a little bit harder and took me a little longer to call her. It took me 2 days to call her. I call her, and we have an amazing talk. For about 30 minutes, we're talking about different things, she's asking about Tony Robbins, what all that's about. I'm explaining and having a great conversation. But then I would get to the point. And I let her know, just like I did with my stepfather and my dad, how much I love her and how amazing she is, how grateful I am for her. And I told her I forgive her. I forgive her for anything she thinks she may have done, because she made me perfect by doing everything she did exactly the way she did it. And that's when she started crying. And she tells me, I haven't been truthful with you, and I need to tell you something that she said, only 2 other people in the entire world know what I'm about to tell you. Well, sorry, 3 other people in the entire world know what I'm about to tell you. My stepfather, my uncle, who passed away a couple years ago and took it to his grave, and my biological father. So, she tells me, Robert, my biological father, Robert is not my father. what's that? Excuse me? What did you just say? It wasn't a shock of what the hell? It was a shock of, oh my God, what? And she says, Robert is not your father. And to me, I'm just like, oh my God, this is amazing. I'm like, go on, tell me more. She goes on to tell me that she wanted a baby more than anything in the world. And she was unable to get pregnant through her husband, Robert. And she wanted a baby so bad. She went everywhere, spoke to everybody. She went as far, she said, as the Colombian embassy to see about adopting a baby from Colombia. And I stopped and I said, wait a minute, Mom. Is that why I get so tan in the summertime? Are you telling me I'm half Colombian? And she laughed and said, no. While she was crying, she said, no. What ended up happening was she worked at a hospital here in Kansas City. And in 1978, 79, they were doing experimental procedures for in vitro fertilization. And at that point, I said, wow, I knew what was coming. And she said, your real father is a doctor. Now that just blew my mind. That right there, I was like, excuse me, what did you say? She said she enrolled in this program, and the donor, they had to sign all the paperwork for privacy, but the donor apparently was a medical student at the hospital. That's all we know. And at that point, my whole life and my whole world changed. I realized I was no longer the son of this alcoholic, womanizing man that had abandoned me and my mother at 2 weeks old. And instead, I was the son of a doctor. I was the son of a wise healer. And to me, this was the most amazing story I'd ever heard. And at that point, it wasn't until the next day, thinking it through, not only did I change my own DNA from what it had been for 41 years of my life, I changed my children's DNA. I'm now the son of a doctor. I have the DNA of a doctor. My children have the DNA. Their grandfather was a doctor. And it all hit me that not only did I rewrite my DNA, not only did I change my future and rewrite my entire past and that of my children, I rewrote and changed my mother's future. I set her free from the guilt and the shame and this lie she's been living with her entire life and had planned to take to the grave. I released her from that, and it was the greatest feeling I could ever imagine. And I'm so grateful for her. I'm grateful for this life. I'm grateful for everything that has happened to me. The good, the perceived bad, everything. It all has made me who I am today. And now my powers are only growing stronger. And I am truly understanding and learning what it takes and what it means to create our reality, to design the life we choose, and to live the life we desire. It can be done. It is within each of us when we stop listening and allowing the story of who we think we are to take over, and we start living in the present by forgiving everyone involved, forgiving my mother, forgiving my biological father, forgiving myself, forgiving everyone and having compassion, love, and understanding. I rewrote my DNA. And with that, anybody can have amazing outcomes and can do amazing things with forgiveness and compassion. That's my story. Thanks. Look forward to seeing you on some stages.